Hello, I'm Miss Ginger of Greenhouse Preschool, and today I'll be reading The Legend of the Bluebonnet, an old tale of Texas, retold and illustrated by Tomie DePaulo. Great spirits, the land is dying. Your people are dying too, sang the long line of dancers. Tell us what we have done to anger you. End this drought. Save your people. Tell us what we must do so that you will send the rain that will bring back life. For 3 days, the dancers danced to the sound of drums, and for 3 days, the peoples called the Comanche, watched and waited. And even though the hard winter was over, no healing rains came upon the land. Drought and famine are the hardest on the very young and the very old. Among the few children left was a small girl named She Who Is Alone. She sat by herself watching the dancers. In her lap was a doll made from buckskin, a warrior doll. The eyes, nose, and mouth were painted on with the juice of berries. It wore beaded leggings and a belt of polished bone. On its head were brilliant blue feathers from the bird who cries, "Jay, Jay, Jay!" She Who Is Alone loved her doll very much. Soon, She Who Is Alone said to her doll, soon the shaman will go off alone to the top of a hill to listen for the words of the great spirits in the skies. Then we will know what to do, so that once more the rains will come, and the earth will be green and alive, and the buffalo will be plentiful, and the people will be healthy again. As she talked, she thought of the mother who made the doll, and the father who brought the blue feathers. She thought of the grandfather and the grandmother that she had never known. They were all like shadows. It seemed like long ago that they had died of the famine and the drought. The people had named her and cared for her, and her warrior doll was the only thing she had left from her family those distant days. The sun is setting, the runner called as he ran through the camp, and the shaman is returning. The people gathered in a circle to hear the shaman speak. I have heard the words of the great spirits, he said. They said the people have become selfish. For years, the people have taken from the earth without giving anything back. The great spirits say that the people must sacrifice. We must make a burnt offering of the most valued possession among us. The ashes of this offering shall then be scattered to the 4 points of the earth, to the home of the winds. And when this sacrifice is made, the drought and famine will end. Rain will come, and life will be restored to the earth, and the people will be healthy again. The people sang a song of thanks to the great spirits for telling them what they must do. I'm sure it's not my new bow that the great spirits want, a warrior said, because his bow was too special and he did not want to part with it. I'm sure it's not my special blanket, a woman added, for that was also very special to her, and everyone went to their teepees to talk and think over what the great spirits had asked them to sacrifice. Everyone, that is, except for She Who Was Alone. She held her doll tightly to her heart. You, she said, looking at the doll, you are my most valued possession. You are the most loving sacrifice. It must be you that the great spirits want. So she knew what she must do. As the council fires died out and the teepee flaps began to close for the night, the small girl returned to the teepee where she slept to wait. And late at night, when everything was still except for the distant sound of the night bird with the red wings, everyone was in their teepees asleep except for She Who Is Alone. Under the ashes of the teepee fire, one stick still glowed aflame. She took it and quietly crept out into the night with her doll. She ran to the place on the hill where the great spirits had spoken to the shaman. Stars filled the sky, but there was no moon. Oh, great spirits, She Who Is Alone said, here is my warrior doll. It is the only thing I have from my family who died in this famine. It is my most valued possession. Please accept my sacrifice and send the rain to my people." Then she gathered twigs and started a fire with the glowing fire stick. The small girl watched as the twigs began to catch and burn. She thought of her grandmother and grandfather, and her mother and father, and of all the people, and their suffering, their hunger and thirst. And before she could change her mind, she thrust her doll into the fire. She watched until the flames died down and the ashes had grown cold. And then, scooping up a handful, she who is alone scattered the ashes of her doll to the home of the four winds, the north, the east, the south, and the west. And there she fell asleep until the first light of the morning sun woke her up. She looked out over the hill, and stretching out from all sides where the ashes had fallen, the ground was now covered with beautiful flowers, as blue as the feathers in the hair of her doll, as blue as the feathers of the bird who cries, "Jay, Jay, Jay." When the people came out of their teepees, they could scarcely believe their eyes. They gathered on the hill with she who is alone, and there was no doubt about it. The flowers were a sign of forgiveness from the great spirits. As the people sang and danced their thanks to the great spirits, a warm rain began to fall, and the land began to live again. And from that day on, the little girl was known by a different name, one who dearly loved her people. And every spring, the great spirits remember the sacrifice of a little girl, and they fill the hills and valleys of the land we now call Texas with beautiful blue flowers, even to this very day. The end. Thank you for listening.